This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com.
We are live inside T-Mobile Arena. It is the site of UFC 296, and that is your main event. Welterweight championship of the world on the line as Leon Edwards defends against Colby Covington. Hey, everybody, I'm TJ DeSantis with a stacked panel. Jason Anning, Bilal Muhammad, Alan Jouban. Appreciate you joining us. Guys, the night has finally arrived. You know, I'm curious for you, Alan. Bilal, thought there was a slight possibility he might find himself in the main event. But what is it like for you to enter the UFC arena on fight night, knowing that it's not your fight night anymore?
Completely different now. I mean, I have no nerves. I was looking for the snack bar right away. Then Bilal walks up like the Terminator. He still kind of got those bubbly nerves in him, right? He didn't know. We were just talking about this, me and Jason, like, you might have been fighting tonight in the biggest fight, headlining. It's like, do I go completely in the fight mode, or do I kind of just do enough to make weight? I mean, there's a lot of stuff, because if they would have called your number an hour ago, you would have had to get in there and fight Colby or Leon. It's a lot to absorb in a short amount of time.
Yeah, everybody was asking me, like, did you take it serious? I was like, I trained as hard as I ever could. I took this as a title fight. I took this as a title camp. And then even like yesterday when they both made weight, I was still sitting there telling myself, like, we're still not eating cake and candy yet.
Somebody could go to the hospital last night. Yeah.
Tomorrow morning I could get a call. Yo, Colby's stuck in traffic. You got to step in right now. So I'm like, I was waiting to the last second. Even right now, I'm like, let me check my phone, make sure Dana didn't text. Like, yo, all right, you brought your shorts? You got your mouthpiece? Let's go.
Well, I remember back in the day, Kevin Randleman was in the main event. He slipped on a pipe in the back, and they had to cancel the main event. So never say never, Bilal. Don't get too comfortable.
I'm ready. I got Jared Corner with me, ready to corner me any moment.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, we're going to put you two head-to-head. I don't even know if Bilal knows this. We're springing a short notice opportunity on you. You and Alan going to go head-to-head in some trivia before this show's over.
I'm already in competition mode. I'm ready.
and you good at these things. You do these on your show, right? A lot. So we'll see.
All right, let's talk about our main event. Obviously, no one knows this picture better than Bilal Muhammad. Leon Edwards defending against Colby Covington. We talked a lot about this yesterday. The time is finally here. How are you feeling this fight's going to look like over the course of 25 minutes, Bilal?
I think it's really switched up since the press conference for me. I think that Colby, I think he did get into Leon's head. I think he made him a little bit emotional. Even at the weigh-ins yesterday when Leon got on the mic, you could tell in his voice that there was a lot of emotion, a lot of energy in there that you really don't see from Leon. So it could be a good thing or a bad thing where Leon's going to come out, fight a lot more angrier. He's going to be a lot meaner with his striking early because he's a lot slower starter at first. Or it's going to affect him where he gasses out and he has, an adrenaline dump because he's trying to kill this guy that talked about his family. And you could use it for good or bad.
Yeah, I'm curious, Alan, when you were fighting, what was it like for you? Did you ever allow yourself to get emotional?
Now and then. The one guy that really kind of got me amped up was Mike Perry. Mike Perry's a guy that says a lot of things, but it never crossed the line like this. I mean, I feel like even 5 years ago, the sport wasn't at that area where you're going to talk about family, wives, kids, all these other things, where now it's really just there's no off limits. I mean, Colby's a guy that really pushes the boundaries. In other areas, you got guys like Jake Paul and stuff, and he pushes the boundaries. And so now nothing is off limits. But, yeah, I mean, it does get to you. And you talk about the press conference yesterday. You could see that got to Leon. I mean, when he absorbed what he just heard about his dad and then he reacted right away, he was pissed. He was emotional. And so that would be my one concern as well. If he's coming out there fighting emotional early against a guy that weaponizes cardio so well, this is not going to play in his favor. So good, bad, whatever it was, Colby's thing is working. One thing that I think Colby messed up, though, Colby sometimes he plays his character. And then you saw when they faced off, he goes, I was in character. Did you see that? And I could almost see a sense of relief come across Leon Edwards' face, realizing, this isn't. And so I almost feel like Colby showed his cards right there, and it might work into the favor of Leon right there.
We were talking about that yesterday, Bilal, about like the fraternity among fighters and athletes, and part of me wonders if Colby isn't playing this character, but in the back of his mind, he's like, am I losing the respect of my peers? Because you can't deny his talents, but at what point do you go, like, you're not just selling the fight, you're just kind of a POS?
Yeah, I mean, you're selling your soul for the dollar, right? You're not even doing it in a good way. Like, you've seen legends like Chael Sonnen, who was very witty with everything he did, but he did it like kind of in a professional way, even with his trash talk. McGregor in the early days, professional way, it was cool, it was quirky with it. Colby's just getting ruthless, and he's like, his normal trash talk wasn't working, So then, all right, let me dig a little deeper. And those are those kids like in high school where they just do something just to get you riled up. And it's honestly, it's immature, but it's also pathetic to have to go that low. If we're a professional sport, if you're a professional athlete, you got kids looking up to you, and you're going to say something like that about a man like that. It's ridiculous.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. If you're in that spot as Leon Edwards, and I know you pretty well, but you're not letting nothing coming out of his mouth bother you or affect you slightly. Am I wrong?
Yeah, because for me, honestly, because I know how fake Kobe is, and you hear it all the time. When you guys meet him, he's a nice guy. Like, you meet him in person, he's such the coolest guy. But, like, for you to do something like that, that's inside of you, right? That's a part of you where you're just like an evil person, and you have those nerves inside of you that those are bad genes. You can't fake that. That's not a thing. So, like, for me, I'm mentally bulletproof. So whatever he says to me, it wouldn't affect me in any way. It would just be like, all right, we'll see in the cage, because I know I'm going to be able to punch you in the face.
But sorry about this, TJ. I was going to say to Jason, you would think that's the case, right? You would think that's the case with Leon, but, like, just finding that one nerve that gets triggered, and then all of that kind of goes out the window. And I feel like he kind of found that right there, because he went lower than low.
Well, I hear you. And at the ceremonial weigh-in, there's such a brief amount of time on the microphone for these fighters. So the fact that Leon uttered the word dad or father even a day later, you'd love to think that someone in his camp is like, yo, Leon, flip the switch. Don't let this bother you, and help him. It felt like maybe someone needed to get in his ear.
Yeah, I think somebody should get in his head. Like, you should be telling him right away, yo, that's it. We'll get the payback right now in the cage. Get it with your hands. Get it with the victory. Make Kobe retire. Beat him down. Instead of, like, when I first started fighting, I used to tell myself, because I was always so calm in the back, and I would sit there, and I'm not a guy that curses, but I would tell myself, I would, like, curse in the mirror, and like, come on, get the punch, let's do this. And then my coach would be like,
punch the pillow.
Use your calmness as a weapon. You don't need to be mean.
Yeah.
That's not you. That's not your personality. And I don't think that's Leon's personality. So I'm hoping it doesn't get out of character tonight.
You know, I'm curious. You mentioned character. Like, obviously, there is some truth to the fact that Colby is playing a bit of a character. We know what he does to sort of be in the spotlight, but he's already done it, guys. This isn't his first main event. This isn't his first time he's tried to sell a fight. At what point can he sort of get away from it? Because you can argue that if he doesn't develop this character, maybe he gets cut from the UFC. Maybe he's not here. But at what point is enough, Alan?
Oh, well, I don't think he changes. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna deviate from where he's at now. You know, I saw this interesting interview where I think it was DC and Usman talking about it, and Usman was talking about the difference in the draw, the pay-per-view money that came, the difference in fighting Kobe and the difference in fighting Leon, and obviously it works. You're doing the lowest of the lows. You're losing the respect of your peers. But he's laughing all the way to the bank afterwards.
Right.
So he's not going to deviate from the path that he's taken.
Yeah, it seems, because that's the thing, though, too, is like, you can say, like, I'm selling the fight, but we're all sitting here knowing he's selling the fight. At what point does the consumer go, this is ridiculous? Like, I don't really need to see this guy fight anymore. Like, this is just dumb. Like, when is too much too much? Maybe it's never. Maybe that's true.
It works. It works. Even if we know that it's a gimmick, the gimmick still is exciting, because if you're going to look at two guys that are just mumbling back and forth and it's pure respect, or you see somebody that has a gimmick, but you're going to want to watch it. You want to see somebody throw a bottle. You want to see somebody take a cheap shot and push, and that's what sells fights every time.
Yeah, let's take a look at the odds here, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. We're looking at the challenger, Colby Covington, at plus 136. Leon Edwards is the favorite, minus 162. Alan, I look at this fight, and I understand styles make fights, but to me, stylistically, if Colby is, firing in all cylinders, I like his style to beat Leon. But Leon has answered a lot of those questions stylistically in his fights against Kamaru Usman. What do you think about Colby's game? If he is firing on all cylinders, does he control this pace? Does he make a fight where Leon can't win a decision?
Well, I think, if he's firing on all cylinders, then Kobe does control the pace. I mean, he's a pace-type fighter. He's a pressure fighter. And if I'm Kobe, I'm thinking, let me get in his face and not let him breathe. If Leon's the bigger, taller guy and he's a more precise striker, right, then I just want to be smothering him. Up in his punches, up in his grill, making him work, relentless type of work. In the first fight with Usman, if we're being honest, Leon broke, right? I mean, that was the dialogue. That was the dialogue in the commentary the whole time. Before the call by your brother, it was maybe he's content with just going the decision, with surviving, and he had that moment. But let's say the head kick doesn't land, that would still be the narrative.
Right.
No question. And his corner was very dejected in that fight as well.
Over and over, trying to pound it into him, right? And so what I'm getting at is if I'm Kobe, I'm thinking there's a way I can make this guy quit. And I'm a cardio machine. Find a way to make this guy quit. That's got to be the mentality of Kobe in this fight.
Yeah, when I look at Colby's sort of strategy, the main question for me is what can we expect from Colby Covington? He hasn't fought since March 5th of 2022. That's a long time ago. Is he going to be rusty? Is he going to, need to take time to settle into the fight? Because if he does, I think that's where Leon Edwards is going to be able to sort of set the pace and maybe steal that away from Colby, where Colby will have to maybe come back and fight from behind. What does this fight look like early, Bilal?
I think you're going to see a different Leon early. I think he's going to try to get on him right away, try to touch him right away. Because Kobe, he's going to try to get in his face right away, push him to the cage. But there's not that fear factor with a Kobe. Like with Usman, he has that one-punch knockout power. We've seen what he did to Masvidal. We've seen him knock out Gilbert Burns with the jab. Kobe doesn't have that at all. So I don't think his punches are going to back up Leon. It's going to be him nonstop shooting on you, shooting on you, shooting on you. So that's where Leon, who's great with feigning, has to start picking up that knee, start picking up that front kick to make Kobe aware of it, afraid to shoot on him, and start, once he's standing straight up, that's when you start coming straight down the middle with your left hand or left high kick.
Yeah, we know that Colby historically can go deep. Leon Edwards, maybe the question is, will he be broken? Alan, I'm curious in your opinion, when you are in a highly competitive fight and it might go the distance, when do you start fighting and competing with the judges in mind?
I wish I'd have done that more. Now, if we're being completely honest, but it's something that I always kind of coach young fighters a lot more in, and that I really like when I see it. And there's certain areas where obviously your coaches, your corners have to be telling you, look, first 2 rounds were close. We got to go this round. We got to solidify one. But there's also subtle things that I'm seeing in the sport now that I really love. That when somebody punches you, and sometimes the crowd in the arena, they ooh and ah. I like it right away when they go, no, that was nothing, that was nothing. Like, I want to let the judges know I'm not hurt, that did no damage to me. Little things like that sometimes persuade the judges in these type of close type fights. But yes, some fighters don't like to know how much time's left.
Right.
I love to know how much time because I want to know, look, I got 1 minute, turn it up. 30 seconds, do that Hail Mary pass. 15 seconds, go for broke. So everybody has a different style that they like to absorb the knowledge in, but the coaches should always be letting them know how close the fight is if you want to go. That's why it's like you get into that open scoring system, but you want to know if you need to go for broke in the 3rd or the 5th round.
Yeah, and you want to have the right coach with you, right? You don't want to have the coach that's lying to you and telling you, hey, I think we're winning. Bro, I got like 2 black eyes and my nose is bleeding. Like, bro, be honest with me, what do we need to do? Or that coach that doesn't have the ego where he wants you to switch up the game plan. If the game plan was, to shoot on this guy, we're not taking him down, all right, adjust. We have to go somewhere else. So that's a huge part of it. There's a lot of fighters that aren't able to do that, or fighters that aren't able to, with a minute left, to go balls to the wall and go all out. There's guys that don't do that unless you're training that. And nowadays, people are training those type of things.
No, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Our main event, 5-minute rounds for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. Let's be honest, a opportunity to fight Bilal Muhammad on the line tonight.
Well put.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. All right, now Alan Jouban's going to get the opportunity to take on Bilal Muhammad right now with some trivia. Sorry, we got to go there. We got to have
fight mode. I mean, I get
my rematch.
So if you don't know, remember the show. Bilal Muhammad, Jason Anik, they do this. Is it safe to call it MMA trivia show? Because I feel like it's much more than that. How would you describe Remember the Show?
I would call it as, UFC, MMA, World Trivia, MMA Jeopardy. That's what we call it.
There we go. I like that.
MMA Jeopardy.
All right, so your guy, Cody Merrow, put together some trivia. And Jason, you're going to be the judge today. All right, you might be biased a little bit.
So typically on our show, the buzzer is bully. So are we going to roll that way if they know the answer?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's safe. So
just like Jeopardy, the question populates on the board. Whoever knows, if you know the answer, you say bully right out the gate. How about you saying bully? I love it. So if you know the answer, say bully.
Wait, I need to know these rules. So if I know an answer, I say bully.
Exactly.
Right?
Bully.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I didn't look at the question, so I don't think we cheated.
Okay,
so
but the first one of us to say bully gets the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look at this. How many seconds is the all-time record for least bottom position time? Wow.
I'm still trying to figure out this question. How many seconds is the all-time record for least
bottom position time?
Well, we got multiple choice.
Bully.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going to go C, 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Let's go.
You got it. All right. There we go.
Was
Alan, I still don't even know what that question means necessarily, but
being on bottom for 3 seconds.
All right. Highest takedown defense in welterweight history.
Bully.
See, he knows it without the multiple choice, huh?
Oh, man.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm going to go B, Kamaru Usman.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
Joe Man's like, what's going on?
All right.
This is
I'm still getting a rrhythm. I'm still getting a rhythm.
Least average fight time in UFC welterweight history.
Longest average fight.
Oh, longest. Sorry, longest.
Muhammad.
I'm going to go Neil Magny. Oh, fudge.
It's not even on there. Alan, this is yours for the taking.
Okay, I got to really study this one so I can get on the board. Longest average fight time in welterweight history. Average fight time, meaning a lot of decisions, if I'm correct. Not the most amount of fights. Longest average fight time.
But just so you know, you're on the board either way. Bilal Muhammad answered incorrectly, so
Okay.
you can get a free stab.
Well, Bilal, I feel like if I say your name, this is almost like a backhanded compliment or something right here. Because it means it's more decisions. Shit. GSP had a lot of decisions
He
in the
did.
end of his career. Tough competition. Bilal had that finish. Oh, God. Okay. Average fight time, but Georges St. Pierre was in a lot of 5-round fights for the
That's
majority
true.
of his career. It's
Very
GSP. D.
All right, D. So what we got here.
What do we got?
Is that wrong?
Appears to be wrong.
Oh,
Either
no.
way, Joe Man gets the points.
You got the trombone there.
What?
Dos
Dos
Anjos.
Anjos?
It was Rafael dos
Wow.
Anjos. Oh, we all lost that one.
What?
too.
That's all right.
I didn't know
That's
he
all
had that many.
I know, because he's
welterweight fights.
lightweight as well, yeah.
Most strikes landed per minute at welterweight.
Bully.
All right, Joban.
Daniel Rodriguez.
Oh, how about that?
Wow.
Because I was on this list.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I was number 4 or
Can
5.
we see the remaining names?
Nope.
All right.
Dang. How did he get 200 points already?
He went off, Daniel Rodriguez, on 1 or 2 fights.
Highest significant strike accuracy in welterweight history.
Bully. I didn't even know it. I'm trying to use the game. Highest
as well.
significant strike accuracy.
You're on the board there.
Hey, there's a timer, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
Is
right.
there a timer? I'm still learning
5.
the rules.
I'm guessing
4,
it's D again. I mean
3.
A. I'm sorry.
You going A?
Daniel Rodriguez again.
What?
No.
Incorrect.
Oh, it is correct.
Highest
No, I
significant
think
strike
it's wrong.
accuracy? I'm
Points.
gonna go Alan Joban. What?
I'm not mad at you.
Carlos?
I think it's Carlos.
Really?
Gunnar.
Well,
What? How is it Gunnar Nelson?
Gunnar Nelson's the answer.
I mean, he didn't throw a lot of strikes. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
so that's
All
what
right.
he's just very accurate.
Who has the most bonuses in UFC welterweight history?
Bully.
Joban.
It is. Not the guy I was about to say.
Dude, you should let him say it.
I was about to say. I can't say it now. Then it's got to be GSP. No, it's probably
Bonuses?
Robbie.
I'm gonna go Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, Robbie Lawler.
What?
Boys.
It better not be Chris
This is
Lytle.
tough, though.
It's Chris
What?
Lytle. It's
I
Chris
love it.
Lytle.
So there's 2 straight
Yeah.
questions where we go.
Yo, these are tricky.
Right?
These are
Chris-
tough. All right. Highest strike differential in welterweight history. So, who hit the most and got hit the least?
Bully.
Joban.
Kobe Covington.
Gotta be.
No, he's been in wars. I mean, I think
This
Ian
is
Gary had the
tough.
least amount of fights. I'm gonna go with either him or Leon. They don't.
But like Ian Gary only has
That's what I'm
a couple
saying.
of fights. I mean,
All right, I'm gonna go Leon Edwards.
It probably is
Bro.
Gary.
It's Ian Gary. And think about it,
Ian
because he's
Gary.
got such a small sample size. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say it has
Yeah.
to be like a 5 or 10
That's a
fight
trick
minimum.
question, Cody.
All right. More significant strikes landed in their UFC career.
Ooh.
Oh, this is dirty pool right here.
This
That
is not
is.
good.
That
All right,
is.
This is
I know I'm higher on the list than him, but I don't know. And yeah, so
gonna
I'm
go-
high on the list. So
I'm
that
gonna go
means
Bully Allen. He didn't say Bully.
Shice.
Come on.
Never. Oh my God.
All right, so there we go.
Starting to think the producer Cody Merrill wouldn't have put it in.
This is the trickiest game ever. Okay,
More knockdowns per 15 minutes in the UFC. So
Alan
we're
Joban.
Oh,
You
Allen
gotta say
Joban.
bully first. Say bully.
That's all right. You got it.
I need these points.
You do. You really do.
Are the points getting higher?
I don't know. Most fight time in welterweight history.
Let me guess. These 2 guys?
Neil Magny.
Oh,
Bully, Neil Magny.
oh dang. I'm giving it to Joban.
You can't give that to Joe.
I'm-
Man. He had the buzzer.
Mike,
Extra
I
rounds
didn't
is
say
my
bully.
show. All right. So
Oh my God, that was tough.
I feel, Alan, you can actually say there was some collusion there that Cody Nero was taking care of his boy Bilal Muhammad, but yeah.
So did I win? I won.
You're a winner in my book.
Okay. Or did I not win?
You win a spot on the game show. You got to come on our game show.
We got to do it for real. And I want to try to get in conjunction, do it live on the UFC Fight Pass Facebook and YouTube and try to get some
No doubt.
fans
And
involved.
the game show's easier than that trivia.
Yeah. There's more pictures.
Because I thought
Picture
Neil
box.
Magny was the answer to almost all of those questions right there.
You know what? Just blind going into it, it's not a bad guess every single question.
Yeah.
You know? So there you go. All right. Well, I think we're gonna send you boys on your way.
Yeah, we'll catch some fights, man. Love doing these with the fights going on behind you, fighting finishes.
Dude, it's crazy. It's great. The Octagon right behind us. It's UFC Fight Night here. Pay-per-view, UFC 296. Bilal Muhammad. I mean, you never say never. Hopefully there's no loose pipes in the backstage area and no one slips. But
we may be in the case tonight.
Yeah, you never know. Something tells me we're going to see Bilal Muhammad in the Octagon.
Yeah, I was going to say we might see him. We might see him in there.
We better.
So hopefully we'll see you after the fights, Bilal.
For sure, guys.
All right.
Great talking, guys.
All right, there we go. Let's take a look at our odds here.
My brother.
As we
Appreciate you, buddy.
look at UFC 296. Again, Leon Edwards in our main event. He's a minus 162 favorite as he takes on Colby Covington. Come back on the underdog Covington plus 136. Alexandre Pantoja in the main event. He defends his flyweight championship for the first time after taking it off Brandon Moreno. And he's the favorite, minus 192 against the Raw Dog, Brandon Royval. All right, we are back here on Extra Rounds. CJ DeSantis, Alan Jouban way down there. Let's talk about our co-main event a little bit. It's a rematch. It's a fight where Pantoja owns the first meeting, rear naked choke in the second round. Now, speaking of Brazilians.
Speaking of Pantoja.
Let's talk to Ed Soares, who's kind enough to join us. I don't know which one that one is. I think it's this one. Is that? Talk for me, Ed. Let's hear those dulcet tones.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. LFA was last night. Alan Jouban knows a little bit about the RFA and the LFA family and all that fun business. How was the show last night?
It was awesome, man. It was absolutely incredible. It was a really kind of like a dream come true to be able to come to Las Vegas, fight capital of the world, do our first show in a historical spot like the Palms for mixed martial arts. So it was awesome. And, we did some different things in the broadcast by having multiple color commentators, which at first I was a little bit not too sure how it would go, but I think it all worked out. I think the commentators came together, and Alan could probably speak on that pretty good. It turned out to be really cool.
There was literally an army of commentators last night, Alan.
Yeah, we have a picture that we took last night of all of us inside of the Octagon at the end of the night. And when the show was done, there was kind of a sense of like, wow, we got that. We finally got it done. The LFA has been around so long. As you said, I came from the RFA.
Right.
Now I'm doing broadcasting in the LFA. And the LFA has been such a route for not only for fighters to get to the UFC, but broadcasters. I mean, I made my color commentator debut. Laura Senko came in, and now she's doing everything. So it's just been like a journey for a lot of people. Me and Ed were talking this morning in the gym, and he was just talking about like the sense of pride that he gets. Seeing so many people, was it 33% of the fighters? Is that 33% of the fighters?
Current roster, of the current
That's
roster.
crazy.
The current UFC roster came from the LFA. So it's just I think we all have a sense of pride in how much success it's had.
No, absolutely. And if you look at the product, what LFA does on UFC Fight Pass, I mean, it's really one of the premier promotions for getting athletes ready to make this step. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Pearl's a lot smaller than T-Mobile Arena, but, your staff and the way that they handle athletes, Ed, it's really the best sort of preparation process for these athletes to get to the big show and not, pardon the phrase, shit a brick because they haven't experienced that professional league before.
100%. I can remember feeling like we needed it. Back when we started in the RFA, I can recall back in 2012 when I became the president of the RFA, I could say I was the first person out there saying, hey, we want to be a developmental organization for the UFC. And the only reason is that I saw, as a manager, I saw athletes fighting in a gymnasium, a high school gymnasium in front of 500 people. 3 weeks later, they get the call to go up and fight in the Staples Center, and they're walking in front of 15,000 people, lights, cameras, and they get a little shell shock.
Yeah.
And we wanted to prepare them. Like every other sport has that sort of kind of, graduation into it. So I felt that, mixed martial arts definitely needed it, and I feel that we filled the void, and then when we merged with Legacy in 2017, our goal was to be the #1 developmental organization in the world. And, statistically now, I'm pretty proud to say we can say that. You know what I mean? Just with the UFC, we've put almost 310 athletes into the UFC. And not only have we put those athletes in, we have an extremely high retention rate.
Yeah.
We have almost a 59% retention rate. So out of 310 athletes that have been in there, 170 are still there.
Yeah, and that's phenomenal. You mentioned you sort of working in tandem with the UFC. For the longest time, a lot of these promotions would come out and try to be competitors with the UFC, and those promotions are all long gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I hate to say the word regional promotion because it sounds demeaning. I hate to say the word minor league because it sounds less than. But there are a lot of athletes too that, the Octagon I think is obviously the end goal, but to become an LFA champion, to shine under those bright lights, that's a first great initial goal as well when you're getting involved in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and it feels great to see people like yourself recognizing that. The way we look at it at the LFA, it's like if a fighter was to be a wall of success, okay, that fighter's a wall of success. If the LFA could be 1 or 2 or 3 of those bricks that make that wall of success, I feel like I've done, we've done our job, and that's really what it is. It's to make a difference, and nothing makes me happier than to see the success of the alumni that go through the LFA. I feel like, I feel mentally, I come from being a manager, so I'm always thinking fighter first. Unlike a lot of promoters are thinking of the promotion making money, I think about the fighter first, and I think we've always wanted to be the most fighter-friendly organization on the planet, and I feel we are. There's been many times where, we've got a main event or a co-main event in the market, and the UFC needs someone, and I'm just as happy to let them go. I know it's going to be a pain in the ass to go find another fighter to replace it, but you know what? That's what we're here for, to help these guys develop, and I feel like we're like a mixed martial arts fraternity. You know what I'm saying? And everyone that comes from the LFA, I think, has that kind of like, we came from that place. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud of the success of all of our athletes.
Well, it's fitting they carry on the legacy of your promotion into the UFC as well. And that's one thing, too, when I look at developmental promotions. Boxing, I think, has suffered from this tremendously over the years where they have mismatches. There are no mismatches, Alan, in the LFA. Like, those fights are as good as it gets, and on any given night, it doesn't matter if it's in the UFC's octagon, the LFA's octagon, you might get a fight of the year sort of candidate.
Yeah, you're getting the top talent all the time, and you spoke about it a while ago about it's not necessarily competing with the UFC. It's not competing with the UFC so much that the top brass, the big guys from the UFC, are sitting front row at the LFA because it's scouting out. So it's really a huge favor that the LFA does to the UFC, not only developing these athletes, but they're able to handpick them, baby. They just come to these shows and say, this guy is ready for the bright lights. Can we have him now? And they're able to go on to the big show.
Yeah, and last night at the Pearl of the Palms, the night before, one of the biggest UFC cards of the year. Can we expect more of that, Eddie? Are you going to try to be in the same city more?
100%. The first time we did that was in last month in São Paulo. We did a show on Friday night in São Paulo, and then the UFC was the following night. And I just think it's great. It's great for MMA fans. It's great, kind of like, like people that are into music. Everybody wants to, oh, man, I used to listen to that band before they made it.
Right.
And, MMA fans want to say that too. Man, I've been watching Alan Juan since he fought in the RFA back in, and it's kind of cool. And if you're an MMA fan and you're going to invest on making a trip and going and watch the UFC, why not see the future superstars the night before? And I think if you're a true MMA fan, you're going to be able to have an MMA action-packed weekend. And yes, so to answer your question, yes, we're planning on doing that more, and having the UFC there as our broadcast partners and having a partner is a huge, tremendous help to us. And there's so many things behind the scenes that it helps with. Even when it comes down to media, when we have a UFC in town on a Saturday night, all the media is coming in town for the UFC. So why wouldn't they go? If they're doing their job, why wouldn't they kill two birds with one stone and have great coverage over another event and potentially be covering a future superstar?
Right. I mean, it's always fun to make Fight Week a week-long experience for everybody, not just the athletes fighting on Saturday. And you mentioned the future. It says right on the stairs when you walk into the LFA Octagon, the future is now. And more often than not, you get to see a glimpse into the stars of the UFC in the future fighting today in the LFA. Let's talk about our co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja taking on Brandon Royval. Both have ties to the LFA.
Definitely.
Ed, your thoughts on this matchup? It's for all the marbles at 125.
For sure. Both of the guys, I care for them both. They're great kids, great guys, not kids anymore, great men. You know what I mean? They're incredible. But to see, both guys, I can remember Brandon Royval. I remember when the week that Anderson Silva fought Derek Brunson in Brooklyn. Okay, that week. Mark Montoya, we were there in Brooklyn, and he was like, hey, I got this kid. His record is not where he's taken some tough fights, but his name's Brandon Royval. We got to build this kid, and I really believe he's going to be something. And I can remember having that conversation with Mark Montoya and doing that. And here he is now, fighting in the co-main event of a huge pay-per-view, fighting for the flyweight title. And Pantoja, on the other hand, Pantoja called me at my gym when this was back in 2013, 2014. He turns around and tells me, hey, I want to come and stay at your gym and train a little bit and look for some opportunities. We never let anybody stay at the gym. And he was such a nice kid on the phone that I said, you know what? Come down. I'll let you stay at the gym. And he said to me before he came, he said, hey, another thing is I'd like to, if there's any opportunities, let me know. I said, no problem. He gets on a plane and is flying to L.A. As he's flying to L.A., Mark Berry, my matchmaker, calls me and goes, hey, Matt Manzanares' opponent just got hurt, and we need an opponent for a flyweight title in 10 days. Pantoja lands, walks into the gym.
Holy
I said, hey,
crap.
Pantoja, I got a flyweight title fight for you in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 10 days. He said, I'm in. He goes out there, puts Matt Manzanares to sleep, and the rest is history.
Yeah, we're going to try to see what he can do tonight as he defends his title for the first time after that great win over Brandon Moreno. That was a classic. Alan, what are your thoughts in tonight's co-main event? Is this going to be another long, drawn-out war between a pair of familiar foes, or will it be short work, kind of like it was the first time they met?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when you look at this weight class, when you look at these guys, these athletes, I mean, it's I hate to use the term dogfight, but so much is happening, so many scrambles and everything happened. I think if Pantoja gets that dominant position, that's obviously his go-to, and he's a high percentage on the back. If he gets it back, I think this could be a wrap in the fight. But if he isn't able to get a solid body lock on the back, and these guys are standing and trading and scrambling and doing all this, this could be one of those fight of the night, just like the Brandon Moreno trilogy, quad, whatever you call it, 4 fights in a row that he had with Pantoja. 2 highly skilled guys in every area of it. I think Pantoja has the advantage, though, in just being a dog. Pantoja's a guy that he's like a get-back guy, I call it, that if you leg kick him, he wants to leg kick you right back. He's got that. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But he will always march forward and say, I will take your shot to deliver one. And he seemingly always seems to have the power advantage in these matchups as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun, exciting fight, obviously, between these two. Royval, was submitted by Pantoja the first time that they met, but we've already talked about Brandon Moreno, and it feels like Brandon Moreno is always going to be a factor in this division. I mean, I'm curious if Pantoja wins, is Moreno next in line? Is Moreno pulling for a Royval win because he just fought I don't know what if you're Brandon Moreno, I don't know who you're pulling for.
Yeah, I don't know either, because they've already fought each other so many times, right? And in this division in particular, look at Moreno. I mean, he's fought who was the previous champion before then? Figueiredo.
Yeah.
I mean, they fought so many times,
right?
And then him and Pantoja fought so many times. I apologize. A while ago I said the 4 fights. That was with Figueiredo, right?
Figueiredo, yeah. But they've fought. This will be obviously the second time, and yeah, man. But to answer your question about Moreno, I'm just strictly from a business standpoint. I do think that Pantoja Moreno is just a bigger fight all the way around.
Sure.
Considering that, granted, I know that he's beat him 3 times already, but I think the last fight kind of erases all that
100%.
and says, hey, man, it was a fight of the night performance. These guys are both, and they're all LFA champs.
Right?
You know,
Absolutely.
and Brandon Moreno.
No bias right there.
But they are.
Yeah.
All of
But
them are.
all of them are.
All of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should be the one that goes in there and wraps the belt around the winner's waist.
Oh, man, what an
Maybe.
honor that would be,
that'd
man.
be
What
actually-
an honor that
that'd be
would be. But, you know, at the end of the day, those kids have already experienced me wrapping a belt around them.
Right,
I think
100%.
what they really want to experience is Dana doing it,
Yeah.
and they deserve that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about the future of LFA 2024 right around the corner. Yet another banner year this year. What's the plan next year for LFA?
Well, we had a phenomenal year this year, and everything that we did in 2023, we want to improve. I feel that we have a great promotion. Everything is getting better and better and better, but I can tell you, I'm still not satisfied. I want to get better. I believe we can get better, and we will. Everything I want to do, man, I want to try to increase our revenue so we can increase our revenue. I want to pay the fighters more. I want to eventually have bonuses of the night. So slowly but surely, we're stepping there. I really, when I look at the UFC, and I look at every other MMA organization, and I see the difference between the UFC and every other organization that's claiming to be a competitor or number 2, 3, or 4
Right.
show. When people talk about developmental organizations, I want them to look at the LFA the same way. There's the LFA and everyone else.
Right.
And that's my goal. And until we get there, we're not stopping. And once we get there, we're just going to keep getting better.
Ed, I know the LFA already has shows in Brazil. We go international, do stuff. Is there any thought of trying to touch ground any other places as well?
For sure. I mean, we're talking about potentially going to Canada,
Wow.
Mexico, and also there's a lot of talks of Europe and potentially some shows in Asia. So right now it's so much going on, and what we have to do is we just have to take one step at a time. I never want to take my mom always used to tell me, never take a step longer than your legs, and that's, I definitely don't want to do that, because I don't want to trip and fall. We're doing something. We did, we started off in 2021 doing 2 shows in Brazil. In 2022 we did 5 shows. In 2023 we did 6 shows. I think that's about where we're going to stay. About 6 shows in Brazil, but that doesn't rule out maybe doing another international show somewhere else. I don't know where that could be. There's various countries we're talking about, and I guess the future will tell.
Yeah, that's a ton of shows, a ton of ambition, and you're proving me right. I can't call it a regional show if the region is international.
Right.
You're everywhere. So,
well, like I said, we're probably one of the only shows in the world that can say that, because some people would like to consider us that, but like you said, I don't know too many regional shows that are doing 6 international shows.
No, absolutely not. And Ron Kruk is making status on every airline, I think, just getting to all those
United.
shows. Yeah.
United. Man.
He's United.
I'm United, man.
He's got blue in his blood right there, man.
That's
There you
it.
go.
That's it, man. I almost want to fight when the other people, like one of my business partners, like, yeah, man, I fly American. I'm like, man, we can't even hang, nigga, man. We can't even hang. You know what I mean?
That was me.
Oh, yeah,
I used to be American. Now I'm United.
Yeah.
These guys shunned me.
I turned them down.
They brought me onto the United side, man.
There you go. You got to plant your flag with somebody, right?
That's it, man.
There you go. Ed, I appreciate your time. Best
Hey,
of
man,
luck
my
in
pleasure. Thank you, guys,
2024.
man. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff, brother.
All right, brother.
There he is, the LFA president, Ed Soares, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds. While I have Alan Joban hanging out, I got to talk a little bit more about this card tonight. We see, for what a lot of people are considering potentially the final fight for Tony Ferguson, he takes on Paddy Pimblett. Pimblett, Alan, calls this fight a lose-lose situation in the sense that he's fighting a guy in Tony Ferguson that is a bit past his prime, but still, you got to believe that Paddy Pimblett would be beyond excited about a win over a legend in El Cucuy. Curious your thoughts on this fight, and what do you think it looks like over the course of 15 minutes tonight?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it a lose-lose necessarily, because this fight was made in thoughts of Paddy Pimblett, right? So he got this fight against one of the bigger names in the sport, in Tony Ferguson, who is obviously on the decline right now.
Right.
So we're trying to build him, and everybody kind of knows that, and that's where some of the initial uproar came from. But I've spoken candidly about this before, that I think this is a fantastic fight for Tony. Not saying that he's guaranteed to win. I mean, I think it's a 50-50 draw, if I'm being honest, who's going to win this fight. But if you look at guys that have the biggest name and the biggest draw in the UFC on that list, that are the most beatable, Paddy is that guy. Paddy's a good fighter. He's got kind of forward pressure. He kind of pushes his punches on the feet. He's still kind of polishing his stand-up, but he's got very good back-taking finish ability. But he's beatable. He's shown that. Jared Gordon is a fight that a lot of people think that he probably lost. He was kind of handed that victory. This is a winnable fight for Tony Ferguson. I think the upside to this would be spectacular. It would be monumentous for Tony Ferguson. And as you said, if this is Tony Ferguson's last fight, what a way to go out after a 6-fight losing streak, to go here on pay-per-view, beat a name, an unbeaten guy like Paddy Pimblett, which a lot of fans, I feel like he would steal that momentum. Paddy Pimblett has such a big following, and he's got a lot of following that's kind of in between. And if Tony beats him, he takes those guys. He becomes even bigger of a star. But if I was Tony after that, win or lose, definitely with a win, I would hang him up, because you don't want that sour taste in your mouth anymore. You finally get into the victory lane again, I would say, okay, I've done it. I can ride off into the sunset with a huge win underneath my hat.
Yeah, you definitely got to believe, though, that Tony Ferguson, if he gets his hand raised, Tony's not the guy to walk away on a high note like that. He's a very competitive guy. He's going to want to continue to compete, but that could also be said about Tony Ferguson if he doesn't get his hand raised tonight. The guy is a consummate competitor, and one that fighting is just truly in his blood, but we'll see what he can do tonight against Paddy Pimblett. It is a featured fight coming up tonight on UFC 296. All right, we are inside T-Mobile Arena. TJ DeSantis along with Alan Joban, and kind enough to join us now, a gentleman who you've seen featured on UFC Fight Pass, coming off a huge win inside the theater at Madison Square Garden. It is Omar Trinidad. Omar, you're an up-and-coming star in the boxing world. We've seen Callum Walsh and 360 Promotions really sort of grab the MMA fan base and bring them into boxing, and now you're doing the same thing as well. Have you felt embraced by the MMA fans out here this week in Las Vegas?
Oh, yeah, man. It's crazy out here, I'll tell you that. It's very different from a boxing scene, man. It's very different. High energy.
Yeah, how did you find the sport of boxing, and was MMA ever on your radar?
No, man. Honestly, when I got into boxing, I didn't even know what boxing was. My dad introduced me, and as soon as I stepped in the ring, I fell in love.
Really?
Yes,
sir. I mean, Alan, you can speak to this too. Like, you have to be a special person to want to actually get punched in the face and hit someone else in the face.
Well, and Omar, when you said that, I stepped into the ring and kind of fell in love. I always find that, like, with fighters, sometimes, especially with MMA, some guys get on the mat and they're naturally a good grappler, right? And some guys figure out later on in life that maybe they were actually a better striker. When you got into the ring for the first time, did you say, like, not only do I love this, but I'm naturally good at it? Was the ability there from the start?
Not only that, man. I know how to strike. I know how to entertain and take a punch.
Entertainment side of it as well, which is very, very important. You're going to see a lot of that tonight, too, if you stick around, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I bet that.
And we've seen that for yourself in Commerce Casino. I've been to a lot of fights in my time, Omar. Never have I seen at a mixed martial arts event actual signs. I saw signs for your fight at Commerce Casino last year. But, you know, I'd like to go back to your last fight in New York City, inside the theater at Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's the mecca for entertainment, not just combat sports. What was it like to go out there and shine the way that you did?
Man, it was incredible. It was one for the books for sure, man. And coming into that fight, I had to give people a treat, and the first round knockout was, I think, more than expected, man. Yeah,
you know, Alan, I'm curious, when you start to fight under the bright lights, when you had your journey and you got to the UFC, and even, you know, we're talking to Ed Soares fighting the RFA, did you feel that pressure to entertain, to you know, not only win fights but do so in a highlight reel fashion?
It's definitely in the back of your head, right? Because you know the more entertaining you are as a fighter, the more people want to watch you, right? And so the UFC, it's a big deal. When you get to the UFC and you get a knockout of the night, 50 grand bonus.
Right.
And when you're coming up from these small shows that you mentioned, when you're fighting for 5 and 5, you know, $1,000 and $1,000, somebody hands you a $50,000 bonus, and all of a sudden you got 10,000 followers the next day. This is a big deal, right?
Yes,
and so
sir.
it does incentivize you, right? It has to do the same in boxing as well. When you get these first-round knockouts at Madison Square Garden or wherever you're at, I mean, the money starts to come in and eyes start to open up a lot more.
Oh, man, yeah. Honestly, after the last knockout, people were happy for me. They were excited. They want to see more. And now that's why on January 27th, they're going to tune in once again.
Do you ever get any type of financial bonuses for the knockouts or anything yet in boxing? Are they doing that with you?
Not right now. Not right now. Hopefully in the future. Yeah.
Hopefully that comes, yeah.
Well, fighting for some hardware as well. Continental America's title
Yes, sir.
going to be on the line. Has that sort of sunk in yet? Like the fact that you are fighting for a title in the pre-fight build?
Man, I'm ready. I think I was built for this moment, and yeah, it's starting to sink in. Because now the opponent, he's hungry too, and he's not going to take that away from me. I'm taking that back home, Boyle Heights.
You know, obviously, you're the pride of Southern California. You mentioned Boyle Heights. Watching you fight in Commerce Casino, the fans are obviously behind you. But, you know, signing with Tom Loeffler and 360 Promotions, like, what was that moment like for yourself? Because, I mean, obviously you believed in yourself, but to have someone like Loeffler who has worked with, you know, Triple G and the Klitschko brothers to invest time, money, and effort in promoting you, that had to be a pretty strong feather in your cap.
Oh, man, it was crazy. It was unbelievable, man. I remember when I got that call, I don't know what to do. I was excited. You know, I know it was going to be a big turnout for my career, and so far, it's been going great.
What's the sort of mindset now? You got a fight coming January 27th, you said?
Yes, sir.
Has camp begun? What's the road to that fight looking like?
Oh, it's looking good. I mean, we just started sparring last week, and once I get back to LA, we're gonna continue it. I've been working out here, so nothing's changed, and yeah, I mean, I know I'm gonna expect a hard camp because now we're doing 10 rounds, my first 10-round fight, so now we're going 10 rounds, 12 rounds, and from what I have set up, we are gonna have some great sparring.
You know, Alan, when you think about your mixed martial arts journey, when you go from a 3-round fight to a 5-round championship fight, what is the mental drain like? Because, I mean, I know it's another 10 minutes, but it's got to seem like a mountain when you're, you know, going to championship, or at least scheduled to go to championship rounds.
I remembered it more because in the LFA, the RFA that we were just speaking about, that's where I did my first 5-round fight. And I remembered it more in the gym because for us, you know, 3 5-minute rounds is kind of the normal sparring, but when you start doing 25 minutes, 5 5-minute rounds, I'm like, holy crap, I got to go 10 more minutes after I was exhausted, especially when the coaches start doing like a Shark Tank, a new guy every round type thing. What is the difference for you in boxing, going 10 rounds? I mean, how drastically does the training, the gym side change? Because I remember for the fight, you're in go mode. I would go back to my corner and go, how many? One more round. Like you force yourself to do it. You will yourself to do it. But the training part to me was the most difficult thing to overcome. How has the training been with this adjustment?
Well, I'm just getting used to it now because my last fight was a 8-rounder, 6-rounder, and now it's a 10. So I'm feeling it just because I'm about to feel it because of the sparring now.
Yeah. I
used to get tired, maybe a little get tired by the 7th, 8th. Now you got to pull through to the next 4 rounds. And honestly, more running, more strength and conditioning, and a better plan because the guys are getting tougher now.
And is it 2 or 3 days a week to sparring? What are you doing right now?
Right now I'm sparring. I think we're going to do 4 to 5 weeks, maybe 4. Yeah, 4 weeks of sparring.
But how many times a week is what I'm asking?
3 times.
3 times a week. See, that's the difference in boxing and MMA. We would have 1 day a week sparring, right? Fridays would be sparring. Boxing, they do it 2 to 3 times a week, and that's where you see the fluidity and the knowledge in that close quarters.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see yourself grow. We've seen Callum grow. You know, looking at this title fight, what do you want to impress upon the boxing world that is watching? What do you want them to know about Omar Trinidad?
I want to show them I'm versatile, you know? I'm different. Every time I fight, I get better and I bring a different style. It all depends on the opponent, but they all know me as a pressure fighter, as a toe-to-toe, but they're going to see something different fight night.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Omar Trinidad fighting January 27th for a Continental America's WBC Championship. And, of course, you can watch it live on UFC Fight Pass. Omar, thanks for the time, sir.
Thank you for having me, man.
There he is, Omar Trinidad,
Pleasure,
kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds. And, Alan, that's one thing that I really find enjoyable about the UFC and about Fight Pass in particular is you look at what the UFC is. It's mixed martial arts, but, you know, with the platform, they've been able to shine that spotlight on individual disciplines. And boxing, who would have ever thought that the UFC in a roundabout way would be promoting boxing on their digital platform? Not me.
I'm saying, because, you know, one of the first boxing fights I've seen in a while on Fight Pass was this guy right here.
Right, yeah.
Callum Walsh. You know, Dana was always promoting him and talking about him. And then in his last fight, I said, you know what, let me finally tune in. Let me tune in and see what this guy's about. And you know, he had a tough fight. dogged his way through it, got the victory in that one. But I love it because, a lot of MMA fans are only used to the MMA world. And there's some of the guys that, come from a true boxing background in other sports. But having it all on Fight Pass and promoting them all, I think is going to open a lot of eyes to more views.
Yeah, you need the right sort of stars to do it, and Callum Walsh has been that right kind of individual to promote boxing. And Callum, let's go back to your last fight. Decision victory over Ishmael Villarreal in his hometown. I think that's the narrative that a lot of people forget about. Yeah, it was Madison Square Garden, but it was literally your opponent's hometown, and it's never easy to take a decision off a hometown guy.
Yeah, I talked to Dana after the fight, and he said, people don't, at this stage of our careers, like me and the guy that I fought, they don't fight each other. They avoid it, they build their records, but both of us took on big risks. I took a risk fighting a prospect from out there at his hometown, and I went in there and fought 10 rounds, and we fought it out, and we had a fight, and it was 10 rounds, and I don't like going the distance, and I don't like getting decision wins. I like to knock people out, but it was a good fight for the fans. It was a good fight to show people that I'm not just fighting bombs and not just knocking people out. I'm in there to fight, and I'm in there to show people that I can just tough it out if I have to,
Yeah, you've always said you like to avoid decisions because you've got things to do. Well, one thing you did that night in New York City was show that you are not only, capable of going 10 rounds, but capable of dictating the pace and sort of putting your opponents through pressure. And I'm curious, did you learn anything about yourself that you didn't know already in that fight?
Yeah, I always knew I had a good chin, but I definitely found out that night, didn't I? He was hitting me with some shots, and I was thinking, I didn't even know how I'm taking them. They didn't really even hurt, I think it was the moment and, the fight, obviously. But, yeah, it was good. I showed the world I have a chin, and I'm not just a fella that's fighting bums, like I said,
Callum, what were you feeling when you said I had a chin? Because I remember you got knocked down once, right? Or was it?
But it was more of a push. I didn't even think that counted as knockdown.
Right, but you got hit hard, you said. But, I mean, were you feeling buzzed for a minute? It was like that at all?
No, I took some shots, but I wasn't. I was never feeling hurt. I was never feeling buzzed.
Yeah.
I knew he was hitting me with some shots, and I was thinking, I was happy that I wasn't feeling like that. I was thinking, I can take a punch.
Because sometimes you look at guys that are known for having chins or different types of chins. Some guys, they get hit on the button and they go to sleep. And then there's some guys that they get hit and maybe they get buzzed or they get kind of wobble, but they know, look, the lights are still always going to be on. And I feel like it's a good thing to be able to have that in your back pocket. They know that you could take a power punch at all times.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I learned from the fight, that I can, you can commit to combinations and stuff a lot more now, knowing that if he throws something, catches me, it's not going to affect me. I have more confidence in throwing more combinations and staying in the pocket, and letting the hands go.
It's always a backhanded compliment to, say, oh, you got a great chin, because that means you don't want to lead with that with the fighter. But, that is one thing you do have to show the world, is that you're not going to go away easily, and you did that. I'm curious, in the corner, you got the great Freddie Roach training at the Wild Card. What was it like to go through that fight with Freddie, and what were the adjustments that you were making in the fight?
Yeah, it's always good to have Freddie in the corner. The man has a lot of knowledge. To be honest, I don't really remember much from my fights. It's like I'm so focused on the fight when I get out of there. Even sometimes I might rock him with a combination and I'm thinking, what did I even hit him with? It's just like you're so focused, and it's like it's muscle memory. You're just reacting to stuff and you're not even thinking about it. And yeah, Freddie was, he gave me some good advice in the corner. He was telling me, I have a good team, and they were I don't know, we made the right adjustments. Sometimes I was maybe moving too much, and Freddie was telling me go forward, push him back. He wasn't really doing much when I was going forward, but I knew he was tough after I hit him with my best punches, and I hurt him a few times and he survived. I was thinking maybe I need to control the pace so I don't maybe gas out or do too much. And then he was a strong fella too, so I was thinking, if I'm taking the shots now, but if I get too tired, maybe he might land one lucky one, and I might be a bit tired. So I was kind of trying to control the pace and win the fight, which I felt like I won comfortably.
In your career, Alan, what were you like in between rounds? Were you someone that would calm down and be able to have a conversation with your corner, or were you more just absorbing what they told you?
I found that later, the more you fight, the more clarity you find in there, right? Because you can think about your first fight, and I just always remember it being a blur. You're going out there and not knowing anything. I remember I felt like I was stepping in quicksand, and I didn't know my bearings. And the more that I fought later in my career, I would get into the arena and I would go, okay, north, south, east, west. There's my wife and my son. There's my coaches. Now I know everything, right? And so I would be in between rounds, and I would be able to differentiate. Oh, that's my boxing coach. That's Robert Sala right there. That's Kenny. I could hear them talking, and I knew what instructions they were given. Are you finding that as well? You're in these 10-round fights now. You're becoming much of a very big name and like a guy that kind of getting on the bandwagon. I mean, a lot of people in the MMA world are now very much tuning into you. But are you finding the adjustments now, the clarity's different at this experience level in your career?
Yeah, definitely. I feel a lot more relaxed, when I'm in the fights.
Yeah.
I'm able to think a lot more, and I've had 130 fights. I fought 120 times in Ireland before I came over here, and like I've had 129 fights now.
130.
That's
See,
crazy.
that's the difference in boxing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just drastically different. I had 5 amateur fights before I was professional. I had 130. It's insane.
I mean, 15 years ago, there wasn't even amateur fights to have. You would go out to a show as a spectator in mixed martial arts, and you go home with an 0-1 record if you got too drunk in the crowd and lippy with the promoter. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a different world in boxing. Obviously, banner year for yourself. You remain undefeated. You have this championship that you've won and defended. What are the plans for 2024?
I want to stay very active in 2024. I want to keep active like I've always done. I want to maybe defend. No, I don't know. I want another belt. I want to have my own belt, and I want to take another one. Maybe my first fight next year, I want to fight for another belt, and keep winning belts and keep making money and keep fighting.
Well, I know the plans are going to be for you to be at UFCs. You're pretty much at every U.S. pay-per-view. And, you vested interest tonight for you. You got Tony Ferguson, who you're very close with, taking on Paddy Pimblett. Any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting fight. It's definitely a winnable fight for Tony. I think it's a good fight for Tony. I think it's he's put in a lot of work for this fight. I feel like Tony's very different for this fight than I've seen him before. He's David Goggins in the corner.
Yeah.
That feel like could get in anybody's head. John Jones had David Goggins too in it, and I think Tony's very different for this fight, and I'm excited to see him do his thing. Tony's been around a long time. He knows what he's doing, so I'm looking forward to it.
What is it like to be friends with Tony Ferguson? Because I feel like if you say, hey, Tony, let's go have dinner, he's going to end up making you go to the gym or something. I think maybe I know the answer to this. Maybe it's his own brand, but is Tony ever chill? Is he a chill guy?
He's cool. I wouldn't say chill.
Right.
He's always doing something. He's always like, we'll go train and we'll be going for a run. And he's like, right, let's go do this, let's do something else. And it's like, but he's always training. And that's one thing about Tony. He never stops training. And he's trained from what he's been sending me, from what I've seen. He has trained very hard for this fight. This is the first fight now I've seen him since I've known him that he has put in the proper work for this fight. He's back with some of his old coaches now, and he's put in a proper training camp for this fight. So I'm excited to see what it's like.
And I feel like that's great for Tony because he's such like a lone wolf, right? I've done training camps with Tony before too, and he would tell me, meet me in Costa Mesa or something, right? We meet in some parking lot of LA Fitness gym, and he goes, follow me. And then I follow him to a UFC gym, and I remember one time he grabbed some sticks, and he goes, hit me with the sticks. Like, what do you mean hit you? He goes, try and hit me, and he would block him and block him and block him. And I was like, what are we doing? Where's the boxing coach? Where's the wrestling coach? Are we going to... He has a unique style, right? Yeah. But he had so much success over the course of his career with those scramble abilities and crazy style. Now that he finds himself older, you know what I'm saying? He's more of an age fighter. He can't get away with some of that stuff. I think it's good for him to have more discipline, especially like a Goggins. I mean, you're not going to make yourself more disciplined than that. And he has to be in the right mindset for such an important fight at this stage in his career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a big difference for Tony tonight. He's a lot of discipline for this camp, and I think he understands himself. This is a very winnable fight. He's only been beaten by top guys, though. He's only been beaten by good guys.
Yeah, he's been fighting the creme de la creme.
They're saying, he lost 6 fights, but he's lost to 6 good fighters.
The best guys in the world.
You know what I'm saying? So I think Paddy's very beatable, and if anybody's going to do it, I think it's Tony.
You think win or lose, he'll hang up the gloves at the end of the night?
I don't think so.
Think he'll keep going, huh?
I think he'll keep going.
He's got that dog in him. He just won't stop.
What else is he going to do? Tony Ferguson, he's going to keep fighting. I think he'll keep fighting.
That's all I know, right? That's all I know.
Yeah, I think Tony has always been motivated, but for this fight, and what I think is the most scary thing about Ferguson is he has a point to prove. It's not just about winning. It's about doing so in a way where everyone in this building tonight is reminded why they call him El Kukui. The boogeyman is here to strike fear in the heart of Paddy Pimblett and everyone else. We'll see what he can do coming up tonight, all part of UFC 296. We'll see what you can do coming up in 2024. Callum Walsh, one of the premier boxers, if not the premier boxer of UFC Fight Pass and mixed martial arts fans everywhere. Callum, appreciate you carving out some time in your UFC 296 fight week and wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
There he is, Callum Walsh, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds. That pretty much does it for us. We'll take a look at the odds as we start to wrap. We mentioned Tony Ferguson plus 250, the underdog to Paddy the Batty. And, of course, it all leads up to our main event, Leon Edwards, minus 162, taking on Colby Covington at plus 136. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can bet just $5 and win $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app, use the code FightPass, and get in on the action today. All right, we are about to put a bow on our pre-fight show. TJ DeSantis, Alan Jouban. This is a pleasure, Alan. I enjoy getting to talk fights with you before it all goes down.
I enjoyed it, man. I mean, it was pretty smooth. I got to say, it's been a tough transition, though. Cody Garbrandt got a knockout, I think, in the mid-conversation. I was trying my darndest not to see what was happening.
Right, yeah.
But it's been fun, man. I want to do some more.
We'll try to chop it up with you a little bit later on tonight.
I look forward to it.
All right. For Alan Jouban, I'm TJ DeSantis. Thanks for going a few extra rounds right here on UFC Fight Pass. We'll see you next time.